Congressman extraordinaire from North Carolina's 10th Congressional District. Congressman, welcome back. I was going to ask you about, and I may yet get to the Pete Hegseth talk to the generals, but first I want to ask you what you think about Operation Arctic Frost surveilling a member of the House and 8 United States senators.
You know, Hugh, I'm friends with Abe Hamadeh, and I'm furious over the fact that it even happened. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. This is another example of why President Trump got elected back in November, because he committed that the United States government would no longer be effectively politically prosecuting its people, right? The weaponization of government has become a very real thing. And certainly as the evidence continues to come out of how much the prior administration abused the judicial system, the judicial process, used it outside of the bounds for what it should have been used for, I think it's inexcusable.
Now, I've been pushing the idea of a select Senate committee, although Michael Kelly is a congressman, the 8 targets who are senators, I mean, people like Cynthia Lummis and Tommy Tuberville and Bill, this is crazy. I want to start at the bottom and move up through all of Jack Smith's staff to the top, and then up to Jack Smith and up to Christopher Wray and up to Merrick Garland to find out who knew what when. Do you think the Senate ought to do that?
Yeah, I think that they should. I think that the question always comes down to, will they? And ultimately, that's for the Senate to decide. But I've really kind of tried to stay out of promising the American people that we're going to do something, because repeatedly over and over again, we end up not doing anything about it. I think the most important thing that we can accomplish as a set of Republicans right now is to truly end the weaponization of the American government against its own people. We cannot be the ones that perpetuate it. Otherwise, this cycle is just going to continue to metastasize. It's going to get worse. The abuse is going to continue to get worse. And ultimately, we're not going to recognize our country anymore. The dirty political games simply have to stop. We've got to have a methodology of enforcement to make sure that that happens.
That's why I believe in Article 2, policing Article 1, constitutional. I don't want the FBI telling us, oh, everything's fine over here, and we're going to get you an IG report in 3 years. That won't fly. Congressman, let me turn to the shutdown. I don't know that you were elected to shut down the government. And I know that you guys voted in the House to keep the government open, but what do you think of your colleagues in the Senate, the Democrats over there, that have shut down the government?
I think it's really frustrating because this didn't have to happen this way, right? I think everybody, if you've been tuning into national media, understands that the Democrats have voted for this 13 times in the past, right? 12 times under President Biden and then 1 time in March under President Trump. And so, look, the same respect that Republicans showed Democrats during the Biden administration voting for clean continuing resolutions 12 separate times, that respect is not being reciprocated now to Republicans or to President Trump. And I think that's incredibly disrespectful. I also think it's very clear evidence that Democrats are playing political games. And unfortunately, they're playing those political games at the expense of the American people. Because look, Republicans have been responsible for shutdowns in the past. We learned from that shutdowns don't actually help anybody. They just hurt the American people. They hurt our country. I wish the Democrats would wake up and realize that.
Now, Congressman Harrigan, for my new audience especially, you're a West Point grad, you're a Green Beret. You led young men in combat as Green Berets, perhaps some young women. I don't know if they were in SOC. How many of those young enlisted men can afford to skip a paycheck or two?
Basically very close to zero, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you got to understand our military is not did not sign up to serve for the money. They did this because of love for country and doing something much bigger than just simply working on themselves and working on their bottom line for their net worth. And so we've got to realize that our military does not have a long leash of financial stability behind them. We've got to figure this out, and I hope Democrats really understand the ramifications of their decisions, because come the 15th of this month, they're going to be very real for a lot of Americans.
I like to point out any member of the government except the uniformed military and the Coast Guard can quit. If they don't like not getting paid, they can quit and take a new job. You can't quit if you're a Green Beret in Niger, right? You cannot walk away. So we should reopen the government for them, if for nobody else. Now, Congressman, what did you make of Secretary Hegseth and the general officers and admirals coming together for a speech?
I thought it was very pointed that it happened at this particular period of time. I mean, I was with Secretary Hegseth when we flew down on Air Force One with the president to Fort Bragg for an event just about 2 months ago. And what I told him is, I said, look, I know we're trying to root out all this DEI, but it's actually a lot bigger than you think. It's a lot bigger problem than you think that it is, Mr. Secretary. And we had a long conversation about that. And look, I think that he needed to pull everybody together to say, hey guys, look, the way that it's been going in the past, it went way too far to the left. We're not trying to bring this to the right. We're just trying to bring this to the center. And what that center looks like is leading by example, right? Having hard and fast standards. We are not doing promotions, and we are not going to run our military by any other criteria other than merit and capability. That's the only thing that matters, because our mission is to fight and win the nation's wars. And oh, by the way, we've only done that one time since World War II. What we're doing right now is failing. We have got to change course. And I think he delivered that message loud and clear.
When you left West Point, I don't know what year you graduated, Congressman, was it politicized? Was the faculty politicized?
I graduated back in 2009, and I'll tell you, there is always some element of politicization, no matter where the administration goes. The military institution kind of follows. What has been different in the past is those have been relatively minor swings, and the mission can kind of stay on track. What has happened in recent past is those swings have become really, really huge. And so it's incumbent upon us to actually insulate the military from politics. And that's the other part of the conversation that I had with Secretary Hegseth, is that, look, our role is not to increase the politicization of the military. It's to actually insulate it. We have to insulate both our military as well as our service academies, right? The future leaders of our nation, because nobody can survive this political whiplash. It's just too heavy of a burden on everybody's necks. We've got to do better than this. We've got to keep the mission at heart. And I think Pete Hegseth hit the reset button last week with the nation's leaders, generals of the Department of War. And I think that that was a very, very healthy thing to do. Let's hope that we can all keep to it.
Congressman Pat Harrigan, thank you for joining me. Always a pleasure to see you. You're our designated freshman this year. I'm